Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, it's Friday. Let's go. Yes, it's Friday, and I'm broke. And I am like not just regular every other Friday broke, but I'm the every other Friday after Christmas broke, where like when you open your bank account app and your account's in the red and you're like, I just have to wait till my direct deposit. We're just coasting in the red over the weekend. That's how we roll. How you doing? 800-288-9227. We're going to start off the show today returning to the show, Sonia Azad. She is an expert on reducing stress, and she has a lot of good content on YouTube. I was perusing earlier. Welcome back to the show. A lot of people exhausted and kind of stressed out from the holidays. Let's start there. Do you have like a post-holiday, or I guess we're in the middle of the holiday stress regimen?
Well, let's start with your bank account first, because people in your life must have gotten a really good gift. Oh, my goodness, James.
Not that good, actually.
Well, so yeah, my personal regimen and what I recommend to others is like just get back onto your routine. We don't have to drag out the holidays and sort of make everything more chaotic than it really has to be. Last night, great example, Dallas-Fort Worth area. It was raining, it was dark, it was cold, it was dreary. And I was like, I really don't want to work out, but I forced myself to go work out, and I really did feel better afterwards. But that's just one small example of like, just keep yourself on that bandwagon, whatever's going to make you feeling good, healthy, sort of normal, as much as possible.
Well, I see these guys across the street. We're at the American Airlines Center where our studios are. They're building some new high-rise, but when I was in Bruce's office, you could see that there's like 100 people on the job site today. So really, I think, I'm working, you're working. There's 100 guys across the street working. Garrett's working. I mean, maybe people take too much time off, and it just allows them to stew on their stress.
Well, there's different kinds of, you mentioned the word exhaustion. Stress chronically can lead to exhaustion. But I want to be clear, there are different types of exhaustion. So there's the physical kind, so depleted energy after, let's say, workouts or any sort of intense physical activity or labor from work, like you just mentioned. But also there's mental stress. So that's characterized by, let's say you have difficulty concentrating, maybe lack of motivation, irritability, and that's that chronic stress piece. So you've got this intense mental activity over and over long periods of time, and that leads to just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm in a fog. Then there's emotional exhaustion. That can feel like detachment, again, demotivation. You're just emotionally drained. And we would talk about burnout. This is like where you get to that point of cynicism, hopelessness. I have no energy. And that is a result of prolonged exhaustion. So you're right. Like you can feel tired, not just from doing too much, but from also doing a lack of things or engaging in a lack of activities that are actually meaningful and purposeful on a soul level. So I just made it a little bit woo-woo, but if you're just like really not into what is happening in your life, in your relationships, in your job or career, then yeah, you're sort of like zoned out.
Well, I have a special category. It's not me. I'm talking about other people exclusively. When you have to hang out with your in-laws for an entire week, there's another level of stress that's on top of what you just described.
So I'm one of the fortunate ones. I do not have in-laws because I'm not married, but I hear this from so many people. Here's the reality, whether it's your in-laws or there's conflict within your family or, because it could be a sibling, it could be just any sort of friction that you are like, I really don't want to deal with this. In order to prevent that emotional exhaustion, and this might seem like it's easier said than done, don't overthink, right? Don't linger in this place of like, okay, I really don't want to see them. This is probably how it's going to go. Then you create a story in your head. Then you make up these fictional like arguments that haven't even happened yet, right? So then all of a sudden you've thrust yourself into this anxious behavior and nothing's even happened. Now, if you know that you're like, I am not going to enjoy this because it's boring or because she's judgmental or he's ridiculous, then you set boundaries around your time. So you come up with a family plan with your spouse or whomever you're attending this function with or traveling with and go, okay, we're going to do this and I'm comfortable with this. What do what's most important to you? I often say in a partnership, on a scale of 1 to 10, is me being there like a 10, like this is a must do? Or is it like, okay, I don't have to go to the movies with everyone on Christmas Eve. Can I just skip that? So finding ways to creatively set boundaries, not just for yourself, you're going to be more pleasant for everyone if you're not in that place of exhaustion in all the different forms that I talked about.
All right. Now, I mentioned I was digging through your YouTube earlier. Why don't you like the term anti-aging?
That was just posted yesterday. Well, I just think it's a marketing gimmicky term, right? A lot of, especially women, as we age, we're looking for what's going to reverse the clock. But the truth of it is, and I know a lot of people love the marketing and buzzy terms, but for me personally, I'm like, I don't really, we're not anti anything. We're not anti aging. We're not reversing the clock. We can live and support our health in the best ways possible, and we can reduce signs of aging. But anti-aging to me is just like a cheap throwaway.
Well, I've resigned myself to where I'm either going to die early or end up looking like Willie Nelson, and I'll take the Willie Nelson over the dying. Where do they find your stuff? You recommend they find your stuff online, Sonia?
Sonia-Azad.com is the best place for it, but I'm really easy to find on Facebook and Instagram as well.
All right, Sonia Azad, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, coming up next, here's the question for you. Garrett, this is for you too. I want to hear your answer. Bruce, over in the office, you're probably listening, or it'll get to you in 30 seconds. How much do you think Hunter Biden's art will sell for after January 20th? Ooh. We'll talk about that next. And if you have a guess, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Man, I just saw a meme float across my screen early today. I'm like, I'm talking about this on the show. This is hilarious. Why haven't we thought about this before? I mean, we've kind of thought about it before the election, and Hunter Biden has kind of disappeared in the rearview mirror quite a bit. There was a little bit of a flare up when he got his pardon, but it's amazing how now that we know some things that we didn't know a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago, he really should be a bigger story. Now, the fun part is how just plainly embarrassing this story makes so many of the people that you don't already like. If you're a dishonest media outlet, Hunter Biden is the story that exposed you for the filthy hacks that you are. We got to see everyone who's just so dedicated to politics that they're willing to just not even pick up on the most obvious of hoaxes. I mean, that's one of the great things. It's one of the great things that Jussie Smollett taught all of us, is who the reliable journalists are and who they aren't. Who is making predictions that came true and who is making predictions that did not happen, or just assuming truths, buying into stuff. I mean, the most obvious of lies. Now, the Hunter Biden art scam, is this a bigger scam than the Jussie Smollett scam? I mean, you can really answer that, 800-288-9227, but I kind of mean it rhetorically. Because the Hunter Biden art scam is so bad. Now that you know the Hunter laptop is real. Now, I know you knew the Hunter laptop was real this whole time, but the fact that there's some sort of debate, you understand that some of our neighbors look at that story and they believe what they see on the TV, and they didn't really know at the time because 51 officials from the intelligence community signed a letter, and all the people that they believe in told them, well, then we have to go with that. That makes more sense. Now that even these people have no leg to stand on, now, can't we all just agree this is one of the biggest scams possible? Because Hunter Biden getting money is never for the merits of Hunter Biden. Has never been, will never be. He's a crackhead, and that's tough. I know we probably all have some family member somewhere with addiction. If you don't, then you're one of the lucky ones. Most of us do. But this guy getting millions of dollars from whether it was Burisma or China or whatever, we all know what that was for. That was for buying influence with his dad, who's actually in a position of power. Now, it used to be Bo Biden being the bag man, putting together all these deals, and he wasn't a crackhead, so we never found out about it when Bo was in charge. But Bo passed away from cancer, and Joe Biden couldn't stop the grift, so he put his crackhead son as his conduit, and that's when problems began, and obviously so. But the most naked of the bribes was the art scam. The idea that this man in his 50s, who has accomplished nothing in his entire life except for being the bag man for his dad, his corrupt politician father, just decides to pick up a paintbrush and become an artist. And then these paintings start to sell for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wow, good for you. What a talented guy you are. What a shame it is for the art world that you wasted the first 30 years of your adulthood, 35 years of your adulthood on crack and corrupt politics instead of art. The art world really missed out on you getting in the game so late. But it was clearly a scam. However, all you needed was the slimmest, even most feeble of excuses, and the people who are on Team Blue, his political benefactors and people who are sympathetic to that side of the aisle, which is most of the media, say, oh, well, sounds okay to me. Yeah, he can go ahead and sell art for $100,000 to an anonymous buyer. Really? That we're supposed to believe that this isn't just clearly a bribe going from some moneyed interest to a sitting politician in a position of power, the president. They're just happening to buy terrible art. And if you've seen the art, it's not like he really is some sort of art genius. It's crap. Although most of art's crap, so it kind of fits right in. And I'm talking about the abstract stuff. I know there's talented artists out there. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the Jackson Pollocks out there. That's not real art. So Hunter Biden finger paints on a canvas for 20 minutes, sells it for $200,000, and we're supposed to believe that it's just some guy that's an art collector. And he just loves the work. Maybe it's an investment piece. Oh, really? There's going to be another person that's going to buy that art from him for a higher price? Because if that's the case, then this would be a legit endeavor. So as the days go on, we are running across a real funny timeline. Because after January 20th, if my theory is correct, if your theory is correct, there will be no more demand for Hunter Biden art. How much will it sell for after January 20th? You think it'll still sell for six figures? And if it doesn't, what does that mean? You know what it means because you've thought it and you've been called a conspiracy theorist for it, and the media has ignored it and tried to make you feel like you're a crazy person. But how much evidence does the rest of the world need before they agree with you? Before they see what you saw easily 3 years ago when this started happening? There would be no more excuses for it. Because the number one thing you have to look at to see if whether or not this is a legit art sale or if this is a very thinly veiled bribe is, well, if there's a market for that, did anybody who bought these paintings turn around and sell it for a higher price? Because if someone did, then they're not buying influence from that, middleman. That middleman is not going to get them in touch with the president of the United States. That middleman isn't going to be able to do anything for them. They would be buying it solely based on the merit of the art itself. And merit being a subjective term, but still, that would count. Has anybody done that? What's the resale value of a Hunter Biden painting? And then if after January 20th, he doesn't get as high a price, if anything, for his art, no one will have any excuse left on what all of that money was. Because the other thing that dropped, the shoe that dropped, was you learned, that the art buyers weren't so anonymous. Here's a couple of clips from Jen Psaki, just to refresh your memory so you don't think I'm just picking on a guy for no reason.
I have a question on Hunter Biden's artwork. Did the White House play any role in crafting the sales agreement with the New York Gallery to protect the purchasers or the ultimate purchaser's identity?
Well, I can tell you that after careful consideration, a system has been established that allows for Hunter Biden to work in his profession within reasonable safeguards. Of course, he has the right to pursue an artistic career, just like any child of a president has the right to pursue a career. But all interactions regarding the selling of art and the setting of prices will be handled by a professional gallerist adhering to the highest industry standards. And any offer out of the normal course would be rejected out of hand. And the gallerist will not share information about buyers or prospective buyers, including their identities with Hunter Biden or the administration, which provides quite a level of protection and transparency.
The gallery owner is a private citizen who might not be privy to who might have some interests in purchasing this artwork. Is the White House doing anything to work with the owner to make sure there's not impropriety there when it is ultimately sold?
Well, I think it would be challenging for an anonymous person who we don't know and Hunter Biden doesn't know to have influence. So that's a protection.
Okay, so just weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, we have a guy who bought a Hunter Biden art piece who posted on Facebook that he bought one. And so now the scam's all busted. I thought it was going to be anonymous. Jen Psaki again.
Also, we now know that Hunter Biden is going to be able to meet with prospective buyers at 2 art shows where his paintings are going to be on display later this year. How does this square with the goal of keeping him in the dark about the buyers of his art as a means to prevent even the appearance of undue influence?
Yeah, there's the answer is going to be trash. So it went in 3 weeks from, no, it's going to be totally anonymous. We're just handing this art over to a gallery. Whoever wants to buy it, buys it. They will reject any suspicious or out of hand, irregular buyings. Really? How many people came in with too high of a dollar amount that y'all rejected? Where's the list on that? And then you find out that he actually, when they're having the auction or when they're doing the sales, that he's going to be in the room running around talking to the people buying. How is that anonymous? It's not. It's a scam. How bad does it have to be before the media catches on? Oh, they're going to try and ignore it. ABC didn't even report on the lady being burned alive on the subway. ABC News didn't report that all last week. There's a lot of people out there who just don't know what you know. And that kind of explains why they don't vote how you vote. 800-288-9227. Do you have any guess on how much Hunter Biden's artwork will sell for after January 20th? It's not going to be much. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest styles herself as a mega entrepreneur and as a free market capitalist pig. I love the sound of that. People bragging about their success. It's something that's totally welcome on the James Show. But we're going to talk to her about what's coming up in the economy and some guidance for small business owners here in DFW. But first, welcome to the show. And since this is your first time on the James Show, Tawana, give like the 1 minute, 2 minute background on who you are and where you came from.
Hi,
Hi.
this is Tawana Fields. I'm from Memphis, Texas. I grew up in Amarillo, and so I've been around like a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. So I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so they named me the mega entrepreneur since I run it's a total 8 companies that I run, from catering, cleaning, dump trucks, transportation, Amazon, vending machines, guest speaking, and I'm an author as well.
There you go.
So,
and your transportation, you mean Black Diamond?
Yes. So I do luxury transportation and I also do hot shots. We do loads to 48 states.
Fantastic. All right. Now that you know her background, let's talk about the optimism we're seeing from small business owners. Could they be, pretty excited about 2025?
Most of my friends are. A lot of them are expanding to different cities with their businesses. So we are looking forward to 2025 with growth.
So if you are in the small business, what are you looking at to gauge whether or not things will be better than last year?
I think our numbers are going to increase. I'm looking at least 50% from where they are right now. People are spending money right now. The holidays was great for us and a couple of my friends. So I think things are moving in a good direction.
So I have a few friends like you who started out with one business and then they're like, well, heck, if I can do this, then I'll just get another business. Well, heck, if I can do this, I'll just get another business. How do you know? How do you know when to branch out? Because it seems scary, if you just stay in the lane that you've known and you've been successful in so far, there's a certain sense of security in that. And there seems to be a huge risk in branching out. When do you know when to take that risk?
I test things out first, right? I like to test it out. I wasn't trying to run 8 companies, actually. I was just blessed to have them. But you could tell by the economy, right? So when I started the catering company, I wanted to do the cleaning service, right? So I just sent people out on a test run to see what it was going to be like. And I always start things after the first of the year. I don't start like in the middle or at the end. Like I won't start anything October, November, or December.
That's solid advice. But a lot of people have problems with the startup capital. How did you overcome that?
I didn't have startup capital. I started with $200 to my name, and I just kept going. And I only had $150 after I bought food to start selling plate lunches out my trunk. So I just did it all by faith and believing in myself.
Yeah, and faith seems to be a pretty big element. Faith seems to be a pretty big element in your business, or at least in your public speaking. How does that overlap with you as a businesswoman?
Well, it doesn't overlap. I mean, I just, people ask me this all the time. I don't even know how I do it, to tell you the honest God truth. It just happens every single day. I don't know, I'm just blessed with it. It just happens.
Well, how did Black Diamond Transportation start then?
Okay. So I had the delivery service. I had 8 drivers delivering plate lunches for me. I was doing about 350 plate lunches a day. And these guys were out going to beauty shops, barber shops, office buildings, homes, or whatever. And so I had gotten burnt out at like 20 years. Yeah, it was like 20. And these guys were about to be out of a job. And I was crying to one of my friends. I say, hey, my guys are about to be out of a job. I don't want to do this no more. And they have bills and families. And so he's like, Tawana, why don't you look into Uber? I said, what in the world is Uber? And so that night I went home and I looked up Uber and I signed up and they approved me the same night. So the next day I go out driving around and these rides are like $3 or $4. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're never going to make no money. But if it's surged, you can make $200 or $300 a ride, right? And so I did it for like 30 days. And then I went and had a little talk with Uber. I said, look, I have 8 drivers I'm trying to bring in and I'm doing Uber X and I'm just not making enough money. And I said, well, we have a fleet program, but you have to come in with black on black SUVs and cars. I said, oh, okay. So I sent my guy to the auction, got me a black Suburban, and started doing black and black SUV.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, this is where the money is. Because you can go from downtown to DFW, that's $150. You leave out of DFW, you get another one for $150. That's $300 within an hour, right? And so I did that for 30 days, and then I took the numbers to my CPA, and I said, how can we make this work? So he came up with the platform for us to make it work. So I borrowed the money from my dump truck and my cleaning service and bought 7 more Suburbans.
There you go. So you were your own startup capital on that one.
Right.
Fantastic.
And so then, right. And then so I just kept going at it, and I said, okay, we need to add to this. And so then that's how I came up with Black Diamond Transportation.
So how many do you have now?
So there's 24 Suburbans. We have 2 Escalades, 4 Sprinters, and 2 party buses.
Party bus, huh? That's the one that interests me the
You
most
want to
here.
come party with us?
I definitely
yeah, it's a lot
do.
of fun.
That's fantastic. So how long has Black Diamond been going on?
10 years.
Do you have your own app, or do you just use like a facade, like a platform on top of Uber's infrastructure?
We just only do Uber when we're on our downtime.
Mm-hmm.
We still do Uber Black, but they just have to do it off the website, order their vehicle off the website, and that's how it happens.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
We're kind of out of time here, but I want to talk to you about some of your other businesses in the future. So be in touch. This is Tawana Fields, mega entrepreneur. You can find her. She has her own website, The Tawana Fields. Where do you recommend they find your work online?
Oh, yeah. They can go to thetawanafields.com, or they can go Facebook, Tawana Fields, and I'm there. Or you can just Google Tawana. It's going to come up.
Or if you need a ride to the airport, give her a call. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tawana.
Thank you.
I love those stories about hearing how people came up. You know, gives me the fantasy that I might come up and be like successful and a millionaire one day instead of just talking on the radio. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to go over to Fort Worth. There's a museum over there, and one of their exhibits includes pictures of naked children, which is already kind of pushing it, but it's art, like naked angels floating around, or the old Donatello statue of David. And don't say it's Michelangelo. I'm talking about a different one. Don't at me. But this isn't an exhibit that's also an LGBTQ exhibit. And is there any way you can have pictures of naked children that's not in a sexual context if it's a LGBTQ exhibit? Is a Fort Worth museum promoting child porn? We'll talk about it next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, there's a Modern Art Museum of Fort Worth has an exhibit that's going to be there until February 2nd. It just got there in November. In this section called Diaries of Home, it's LGBTQ plus content. Starting to wonder what that plus is. And it includes pictures of naked children. All right, let's talk about this real quick. If you want to see, go to DallasExpress.com. They have a couple of the pictures, and they have the privacy boxes in the appropriate spots, so you can go judge for yourself without having to worry about committing a federal crime here. But let's talk about this, because I don't want to be confused for the extremist. And there is an extremist where, you know, like all nudity should be shunned, or and I'll even go so far as to say, like, not all child nudity is pornographic or obscene or has no place in a museum. Because you could make an argument that my son's sonogram would be too explicit to be seen in an art museum, and no one thinks that that's pornographic or tittillating is the word that the FCC uses. And I know exactly where the boundaries are, so don't be nervous for me. Then there's pictures of like you in a bubble bath when you're literally 18 months old. And does that count? Of course not. If you see a baby's bottom in a diaper commercial, no. Technically, that is nudity of a minor, but it doesn't meet the definition of obscene or porn or something that can't be put on display in the Modern Art Museum of Fort Worth. So context is everything. Is there any context in which an LGBTQ themed exhibit can include pictures of naked children and it not be sexually themed? At least, how can it avoid the perception of maybe being sexually themed? Like, doesn't this cross a line? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm asking these questions, and I would like to ask you, because I mean, I can see a little bit of a gray area here. I don't like it. I wouldn't allow this to be in the Parker Museum if I had one. I really feel uncomfortable telling other people where their lines are, except for when it comes to kids. You know, if you want to do all kinds of weird things, if you need to get your foot caught in a bear trap in order to get your jollies off, whatever, dude. But when you involve kids, now it has an element to it to where, like, the outside world needs to step in and say, hang on. So if you go to themodern.org, that'll be the website for the museum. And look, the Dallas Express does a great job of covering it. But if you want to go see what they say in their own words, that's what you got to do, to be fair. So I go over here, and the artist who's explaining her exhibit, did you know they have to, like, submit an essay for the website that explains your exhibit? So in the essay for it, blah, blah, blah. She started back in the day with photography, gained widespread attention in the 90s for whatever, gay, lesbian, transgender individuals. But here's the part where I want to point a couple things out here. As right-wing polemicists condemned artistic representations of homosexuality, Opie, the artist, alongside Philip Lorca, DeCorsia, Robert Mapplethorpe, David Wargenauerich, I don't know him, and others defiantly asserted queer identity in her art. So now there's a few more instances like that in this essay here, where she's telling you she is doing this in defiance of traditional morals and rules. She tells you she's the purpose behind it. And it's not to promote the family. It's not to promote the innocence of children. It's not to put children in their most beautiful form. This is all about artistic representations of homosexuality and throwing it in the face of what she calls right-wing polemicists. Well, you know, if keeping children out of pornographic exhibits makes me a polemicist, then that's not a bad word. Robert Mapplethorpe, one of the inspirations that she cited for this exhibit. He died of AIDS in 1989. In his last couple of exhibits there, he got in trouble for including naked children in what was obviously a pornographic exhibit, BDSM, all kinds of nasty stuff that involve bodily fluids that usually go into the big porcelain bowl in your bathroom, and also children. So yeah, when you cite a pedophile, someone who's done child porn as one of the influences in an exhibit that you yourself is to be thrown in the face of right-wing polemicists, traditional mores and values, and artistic representations of homosexuality, this sounds like the Fort Worth Museum has an exhibit that includes child porn. 800-288-9227. Dude, you think it would be a bigger deal? You think it would be bigger news? How come I have to hear this from the Dallas Express? How come when I go look up the write-ups on the other outlets, they're not condemning this part? Go check it out. Go to DallasExpress.com and look at this and tell me if we don't need to do something, get this thing shut down. This is wrong, people. All right, that's my TED Talk. I don't know what to do about it. What are we going to do? Call the museum, have them shut it down? I don't know, maybe. Put it on Facebook, share it around, see if something happens, because something should happen. This is nasty. All right, coming up next, we're going to go down to Terrell County, not Terrell where the Buc-ee's is, Terrell County. It's on the border. A couple weeks ago, we talked to Thaddeus Cleveland, the sheriff there. He's going to give us an update on what's going on down there, because it was wild last time, and we'll see if things are any better. That's coming up in about, 7 minutes on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. Let's go back down to Terrell County. Not Terrell here, Terrell there. Terrell County, down on the border of Texas, we have Sheriff Cleveland back on. And look, last time we talked to you, I was surprised at how much action is happening in your very sparsely populated area of the border. What are the updates since last time we talked a couple weeks ago?
Hey, James, thanks for having me back. It's great to be on with you. And, we've seen a little bit of a downtick of activity, but that's kind of the normal this time of the year. We'll, with the holidays, even those down in Mexico celebrate Christmas. So we see a lot of activity, people actually traveling south from places like Utah, Washington State, Idaho, traveling through Highway 90 down here along the border to make their trip home. And then just after the first of the year, we anticipate getting busy again and seeing an uptick in activity.
Did I see you on Fox News?
Yeah, I'm on there. Yes, they call and call, and I enjoy getting on there and being able to talk about what we see down here in Terrell County. Talk about today's interview actually was about Operation Lone Star and how successful it's been and how much it's contributed to the lease or the activity actually dropping all along the Texas border. We've seen a significant decrease. And a lot of that has to do with Governor Abbott's Operation Lone Star.
All right, Sheriff, we have some different listening patterns here because it's between the holidays. For the guy who's never heard of Operation Lone Star, give him the 30-second pitch on what that is.
You bet. So that's the state of Texas efforts to fill the gaps that the federal government has created, and that gap isn't created by Border Patrol agents. As you know, I used to be a U.S. Border Patrol agent, and the work they do daily is phenomenal. But with this current administration, it has really left some gaps along the border, and Governor Abbott has been about the only governor really to step up and help out our Border Patrol agents. And so he has funded with taxpayer money here in the state of Texas close to $13 billion, and again, that's billion to help fight and to help control activity here along the Texas-Mexico border.
Yeah, but how come you get to be on Fox and Friends and I don't? I'm kind of jealous of that. Hey,
well, I tell you what, come on down with me. The offer still stands. Come down for a ride along. Hey, I will show you some of the most beautiful and some of the most difficult terrain to cross along the entire U.S.-Mexico border, but it's definitely beautiful, a beautiful portion of Texas.
Okay, that's a heck of a commute, but maybe I can get it fun. We'll ask Bruce if I can do that. That's my boss. So next question: how do you guys work with, like, you say our governor's the one that's kicking the most, but is New Mexico not much help? I know they're just around the corner.
Unfortunately, they're not, and they really never have been. And I'm not one to really play into the political talk and this and that, but they're controlled by a Democratic governor, and they refuse to help with the problems. And it's very similar to what you see on the news with those sanctuary cities. And look, I'm the first to tell you that our country relies on illegal alien labor. But what we've seen over the last 4 years is unlike what we've seen ever before. And again, I spent 26 years in U.S. Border Patrol, and what I've witnessed has been unlike before. And when I talk about politics part, and I may have mentioned last time, I worked under President Clinton to President Bush, President Obama to President Trump. Those four administrations worked in a bipartisan manner to make the border more safe and secure. They all added resources, and most importantly, Border Patrol agents. But what we've seen over the last 4 years has been a complete dismantling of those previous years' accomplishments.
You are 447 miles away from me right now, Thaddeus. That's a heck of a commute.
We measure in hours. I like to say we're about 8 hours from DFW. This portion of Texas, we don't measure in miles. It's measured in hours.
I see. So let's talk about the ride along. You talk about the terrain. What would that even be in?
So out here, Sanderson, the actual county seat for the county, we have 54 miles of border with Mexico. And I often tell people it is the roughest, toughest, most unforgiving piece of the U.S.-Mexico border. And to further illustrate that, look, historically, we've had about one death a year from someone trying to cross our portion of the border, someone trying to cross illegally. Unfortunately, over the last 4 years, we've had a total of 43 deaths in our county, people trying to traverse this. So that just shows how difficult it is. But we have to go down there on a 4x4. You see those Ford commercials and Chevy commercials
Yeah, I mean, look, we know what trucks are. Ford F-250. Is that what we would be in?
Oh, we wouldn't be in. We'd be in a Chevy Trail Boss. But my point is, we can really test out a 4-wheel drive down in portions of the county down here. I mean, it's just extreme canyons, cliffs. The roads are few and far between. So it's just something that you have to see with your own eyes. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon and just gone, wow, this is what it looks like, so different than a picture. Very similar to here. Very similar.
Yeah, I used to have family in El Paso back in the day, and that actually looks like it would be a fun ride along up over all those hills and whatnot. But who's in charge of monitoring Big Bend? Is there some sort of federal element to that because it's a national park?
That's a great question, James. And so that actually, Big Bend National Park falls under Brewster County, meaning it's within the county of Brewster, which is Texas' largest county in the state. And there, of course, they have national park resources under the federal government, but you still have Border Patrol agents down there patrolling that portion of the border. You have Sheriff Dotson, his deputies down in that portion of the state. Operational Lone Star Forces, which is made up of Texas Department of Public Safety troopers, Texas Parks and Wildlife game wardens, and then Texas military forces. So just like here in my county, over there, you have that same amount of resources. But I will add, Border Patrol has really the operational control of the border of the Big Bend sector, which is Hudspeth County, just outside of El Paso to Terrell County, which makes up 517 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border. That's 1/4 of the entire U.S.-Mexico border.
What? Oh, man. I guess because it has a whole lot of twists and turns with the river there. Is that how we get to such a big number?
Most definitely. And of course, just the Big Bend, as the Rio Grande River makes its big dip south into Mexico, that makes up a large portion. But, if you travel in a vehicle, it's about an 8-hour drive. It's about a 5-hour drive if you traverse that entire, what we call area of responsibility.
All right. Well, I'm looking at your area here, and just it's not too far away. Is it called Study Butte or Study Butt? All right.
I'm still trying to figure that one out. No, Study Butte.
All right,
man. And if you've never been in that portion of Texas, Terlingua, Lajitas, Study Butte, man, I tell you what, just it's like you're on a different planet. It truly is. It's really phenomenal and neat to see.
Maybe we can talk the company and let me go down there. That sounds great. Thaddeus Cleveland, Terrell County Sheriff. Thanks for being back on the James Show. How do they find your work online? How do the guys help out?
Okay, Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, just enter that in, and lots of stuff will pop up. And James, thank you for having me. God bless you, and have a happy New Year.
Well, good luck down on the border. We're all rooting for you down there, guys. We really are.
Sure appreciate it.
Yeah, and go check out his. He was on Fox and Friends, and a lot of good stuff on there too. Just didn't have time to get to it. So 800-288-9227 if you have any response to Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland from Terrell County. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, another terrible story here. I hate these. We have a student who's confused about which locker room they want to use, and then there's a sexual assault in a girl's locker room, and it's not that far away from where you live. Here's the question. How many of our young women will have to be sexually assaulted before this is over? 800-288-9227. Details next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I believe wholeheartedly, there's no doubt in my mind that this whole transgender debate that we're having right now is not going to be something we're talking about in 20 years for sure. I believe that this will be viewed by future generations like the lobotomy. It was something that the medical world came up with that they thought was amazing and cured a long-standing problem we had in our society, and generally viewed as something absolutely horrific and really demented and just a big, fat, ugly mistake on the part of the ethical lapses that you see in the medical community. Until then, the only question is, how bad does it have to get before we finally, as a society, I know you rejected, I rejected, Garrett's not on board, but how long until like the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the politicians that are pushing this stuff and the Gavin Newsoms, how long till they say, all right, this is not right. This isn't what we should be doing. And look, I'm not asking for retribution. I'm not asking for people to be thrown in prison. I know they're just going to change the subject and act like it never happened. And you know what? At this point, I would take it. But that's easy for me to say because that's not one of my daughters that was in the locker room at this high school that has now some parents upset. It's so hard to tell what's real because there's a he said, she said element to this. And it's not like believe all women. Those people are believing all women in this case. So there's a fair amount of hypocrisy that's thrown on it. Believe all women unless what? Unless they're being assaulted by a trans guy, a guy who thinks he's a woman. Okay, interesting. But no, the parents are upset because when the girls complain that this dude comes in and is using the high school female locker room, not only is he changing clothes, he shakes it at us. And that's as specific as I can get. And because that's as specific as I can get, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the girls, in the meantime, have been going into the bathroom of the locker room, going into the stalls individually to change. This is what they now have to do in their high school. Since they started doing that, sometimes when they come out of the stalls, this girl, air quotes, is using lotion. I don't know, to prevent chafing. That's as specific as I can get. But you know exactly what I mean. When they brought it up with the administration, I mean, we're talking about high school. Some of these girls are freshmen, meaning 14 years old, maybe 15. The administration's told them to stop stirring up drama. So now we have parents who are complaining. When I look at the local news report on this, it says multiple parents have called the school multiple times, and the school leadership finally called, seemingly tried to address the issue. The girls were told that the boy is no longer allowed in the female locker room, but they say he isn't listening to that directive. One girl was allegedly assaulted by this boy as she told him to put his, you know what, away, and he pushed her. He was suspended for his violence and smashing a Chromebook in a fit of rage against another student. Some students have told school staff that the boy has threatened to shoot up the school, but they say the teachers laughed it off and told the students not to be, air quotes, dramatic. That's a hell of a thing to say to these kids. You know, if your kid smashed someone else's Chromebook in a fit of rage against the other student, he would get in trouble. He might even be kicked out of school. If your kid was running around on multiple occasions threatening to shoot up the school, would the teachers laugh it off, or would your kid be in trouble? If your kid exposed himself to girls and gestured with it, applied lotion vigorously, they might not just get in trouble, they'd go to jail. So when they talk about equality, they're not asking for equality anymore. They're asking for special privileges now. They don't want equal treatment. They want special treatment, treatment that you don't get, treatment that Garrett doesn't get. If Garrett did any of these things, he would go to jail. He would at least be kicked out of school. You can't do that. Like, I can't go up and, like if Garrett had a Chromebook, I can't just go smash that. That's literally illegal. Destroying other people's property, illegal. This guy doesn't get in trouble. Sexual assault, being a flasher. If Garrett was on the DART train doing that, he would go to jail. So no, they're not asking for equality. They're asking for special privileges. And these aren't very fun special privileges. These are privileges to assault your daughters, your girlfriends, your sisters, sometimes your moms. They get to do that. They get to destroy property. They get to threaten violence. They get to make terroristic threats. I thought school shootings were an epidemic, something we need to take more serious. Well, not if a trans kid says it. No. We can't let it out. Death of children is less important than hurting the feelings of this trans kid. School shootings are less important than hurting the feelings of this serial sexual assaulting boy. So now the question is, since I thoroughly believe, and you probably agree with me, that in a generation, we'll look back on this as a huge societal mistake. The question becomes, how bad does it have to get before society all decides that we reject this? Just like we all rejected the N-word. No one says the N-word on TV or radio without losing their entire career. And it's not that there was a law passed. It's not that there's some sort of policy. It's that we all just decided, no, we're not tolerating that anymore. How long are we going to tolerate this? 800-288-9227. Dawn in Hillsboro, you're on WBAP. What do you think? Dawn, Hillsboro, go.
Is this Dolly?
Oh, Dolly. Well, Garrett typed in Dawn. We'll go with Dolly. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to know where the moms were, because if I had a girl there, I'd be sitting in that bathroom all day with the biggest loppers I have in my garden toolbox.
So you would get arrested for making terroristic threats against a child?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, and I would do it too.
Keep him out?
Okay, now, because I'm somewhat of a public figure, and I don't mean like I'm important or anything, but Dolly, if you got arrested for DWI, it wouldn't make the news. If I did, it would. So yeah, if this was my kid, I would go martyr myself. I would go, yeah, please arrest me. Let it make the news. Draw some attention to this. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they wouldn't put mine on the news because, oh my gosh, that would be so bad. Or would it be all over the news? I don't know.
Oh, see, yeah, that's a good question. Because if they try this at your kid's school, what do? I like your idea, Dolly. I think there's a lot of people in Hillsboro who feel the same way, and it's quite interesting how they don't try this crap out in the middle of nowhere. They don't try this out in the bug tussles of Texas, because we would not let this fly. Is this just like a problem with city people or something? Or and it's not because you live in the city. It's because you're dominated by the policies and the ethos of Team Blue. But this is ugly.
It is. It's ugly on his part. And he's probably going back to the boys smirking and, this is what I got them to say, whatever, and getting his jollies off of it for that, too. Well, but where's his parents?
Well, look, it's fun to say that you would go down to the school and you would beat up a 16-year-old boy? I mean, threaten a 16-year-old boy? Yeah, I know. See, so
just be sitting there holding those loppers.
Yeah, right. What? I'm just a pruning enthusiast. Now, here's maybe the more adult take on this, because if this kid is this messed up, what is his parents? Does he have parents? If he has a dad, I would go confront the dad. I would go confront the mom and the dad. I'd be like, man to man, you have a child that is sexually assaulting my daughter, and it's going to stop now, right?
And the girls can't take pictures of it because then they'd get caught for porn.
Let's not even start with that. They might get a new exhibit in the Fort Worth Museum. If you heard that story earlier, Dolly, right? They could be artists and make millions. Yeah, then taxpayers will subsidize their next gallery show. Dolly in Hillsboro, thank you very much. Yeah, no easy answers on this one. What would you do if that was your daughter? Coming up next, if you got a Christmas gift you don't like, what do? You'll hear advice from an etiquette expert. Don't ask me. I'm not very good at such things. Valerie Sokolowski joins the James Show again, coming up in about 6 minutes. And if you have any advice on what you would do if there was a trans guy assaulting your daughters like that in the locker room, advice would like to be shared with the rest of us. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Did you have a good Christmas? Did you like all your gifts? Probably not. Well, now what do? Don't ask me. I'm not an etiquette expert. Valerie Sokolowski is. She's back on the James Show. And first things first, like, if you don't like your gift, I mean, do you even tell the person that got you the gift?
How would you do that tactfully unless you're forced to, James?
Well, yeah, but if they get you something that is, like overt, like, hey, I got you a new painting to put on your wall, and you hate it, and they come over to your house and they don't see the painting on the wall, like, how do you deal with that?
There you go. Now, that's a good etiquette question, and I've got a good etiquette answer. And here's what you say. You say, I so appreciated what you were giving me, and I want you to know that while I wasn't able to use it, I did exchange it for something that's absolutely makes my heart sing, or however you're going to say it. But admit it, tactful and gracious, but if they need to know, it's how you say it.
So give me I appreciate the effort, or how did you word that again?
I appreciate your gift, because it was a gift, very much, and I want you to know I did exchange it for something that I've always wanted, because I have two of what you shared with me, or because I just couldn't use the exact thing you gave me. But so you're being honest, and you're telling them that you exchanged it. To your point, if they ask, or if they're over there regularly and it was a painting or grandmother's sweater or whatever, be honest, be tactful, and share with them that you got something that was really helpful to you or meaningful to you, or fill that perfect spot on the wall with a picture. Explain it and be gracious, and that makes them happy.
I'm really bad at getting good gifts. I almost feel guilty.
Here.
Well, I think back to when me and Miss Parker were first married, and we had a little baby, and we were living in a duplex, and we were even broker than we are now. And I got like a really nice iPad for Christmas, and I was almost mad at her because I knew how much money that cost her and how much of a sacrifice that was for her. And it was like, you don't do this for me. Don't be that nice to me.
Oh, and what did she say, James?
Well, it really hurt her feelings because I was an idiot. Yeah, that was the wrong thing to say. So what should I have said? Like, when you don't want people to spend a lot of money on you and you mean it because you don't want them to suffer, how do you do that without sounding like a jerk? Because obviously I did.
Well, hopefully you really didn't. But if they give you the gift, they gave it to you whether it was a little over budget or not. So the answer is really just love it and be gracious in receiving it. There's nothing worse than, let's put it in perspective with everyday comments. What if someone says, gee, that's a great looking suit? And you say, oh, well, I didn't cost much. It was from Men's Warehouse. And you diss the compliment. So that then makes the giver feel really awful. So just be grateful. Say, thank you so much. I know this was a sacrifice, and it means so much to me. Thank you.
Yeah, Valerie, I'm kind of a butthead, and I'm working on it, though. I'm self-aware, and I'm trying to improve. What are the other etiquette rules around, like, returning a gift or rejecting a gift?
Well, yes, thank you for that, because there are some hassle-free things I can share with people. First of all, there's going to be a shorter window in returning gifts if it's electronic. I just want people to know that. And also, for those who are going to return gifts, there's long lines. There's always long lines. So go right away, have your ID ready, show proof of purchase, easy for me to say, if you can. And in terms of returning something and getting something you'd like, again, the etiquette is honesty with tact. If it's something, however, that is, how will I say this, a grandmother's gift or someone that's very special to you, sometimes it's better to keep those gifts, put them away. When grandmother comes out, this is just an example, wear it. Because the main thing is gifts come from somebody else's heart, and they give it to you with grace. So receive it with grace and make your amends accordingly.
Well, see, that's the good side of me. I know nothing about fashion nor care about fashion. So whatever you get me for clothing, I'll wear it. I don't care how dumb I look. No one's taking pictures of me to be on the cover of a magazine. And so, yeah, me being somewhat thoughtless works out in my favor sometimes.
Oh, I got a great hat for you then. I'll bring it over.
Oh, look, my family loves that. You know how many ugly, embarrassing sweaters I have? Like 10? I think I have 9 at this point. And they'll give them to me, and they're like, "Wear it, put it on." And I'll put it on, and they'll all laugh at me, and they're like, "I dare you to wear that for the rest of the day." Oh, I'll do that. I don't care. So, yeah. It says sometimes being an oaf is an advantage, Valerie. How do they find your work outside of WBAP?
Thank you for asking. I have a podcast, and gratefully, it's one of Apple's top 25. It's called Doing It Right, and it's on YouTube and all the channels. And I am a leadership development coach and have been for 30 years. So I think I know what I'm doing.
Doing what
Go to
right?
my website.
That's vague. Doing it right? Is that like a health and
Doing it
wellness
right.
and etiquette thing? What is it?
You know what? Thanks for asking that. It's the name of one of my books, Do It Right. And I'm telling you, James, that actual name of the book, the title, when the publisher said, "Well, what do we call it?" and we talked about it, and he said, "Well, you know, what you're talking about is how to do it right." And I went, bingo, that's it. And it was perfect. It's on Amazon. Go to Amazon. It covers a lot of etiquette issues.
Well, I could use help in that situation. Valerie Sokolowski, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I am working on it, though. That's the positive side. Thank you very much. All right. 800-288-9227 if you want to jump in the show. 800-288-9227. Just want to throw in before we go to commercial here. I am still looking for a Fort Worth venue. I am still having people asking, when are we going to have a meetup in Fort Worth? You said we're going to have a meetup in Fort Worth in January. Where's it going to be? I don't know. I still don't have a place. Do you have a place for me? Let me know. James at WBAP.com. And when I say a place, it could be a bar. It could be an event. It could be a bowling alley. It could be a place where you throw axes. I don't care. Just let me know. Send an email to James at WBAP. Find me on Facebook. Instant Messenger is probably the most common one. Coming up next, we have 3 women who were raped in a California prison by an inmate, and now they have to use the inmate's preferred pronouns. That's coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. This sounds like the jokes that you and I made about the time that some of these laws were being debated. In California, by the way, if you want to jump in, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You probably don't have experience with this because you probably haven't gone to prison or been sexually assaulted by a trans person in prison. But in California, this is a thing that is happening over and over and over. There is the Transgender Respect, Agency, and Dignity Act, which took effect, 4 years ago now? And it allows California inmates to go to whichever prison they want to, basically. If you're a dude, you can just say, hey, I feel like a woman. You can go to women's prison. You don't need to be on hormones. You don't need to have had any surgery. There's not even a psychological evaluation to be approved. They don't even see if you're wearing high heels or lipstick. You just go. The government says, if you say so, then you can go. Now, you and I know, me and Garrett made the joke, even ladies out there made the joke, well, what's to keep a guy from just saying he's a woman so he can go to female prison and take advantage of the situation? Well, you were right. Once again, it's amazing. This is happening over and over and over. And there's a case here that just took it to a whole new low. We have a guy who committed tons of crimes here. He's actually now in prison for 25 years to life under California's 3-strike law. I went to see what this guy did. 3 counts of kidnapping for ransom, 2 counts of robbery, forcible oral copulation, which means he's a rapist already. He was a getaway driver in a robbery. So he's been at this for a while. So all the way from 1990 is when I saw his criminal career take off. So now he's in prison, maybe for the rest of his life. And when this law passed, he did exactly what you said he would do. He said, boy, oh boy, I sure do feel like a woman. They put him in the woman's prison. Pretty soon, you're not going to believe this, his roommate turns up pregnant. Hey, wait a minute. Now, how can that happen? Now, if there's 2 women in a cell, how can one of them become pregnant? Doesn't any, see, this is the confounding part. This is where it feels like you're in The Emperor Has No Clothes. It's like, you realize, that's not a woman. No, that's a woman. Okay. Well, if you put 2 women in a cell together, that's not the biological necessity, doesn't meet the criteria for impregnation. There has to be a dude in there. Well, yeah, that's what, a female baby batter that got her. I'm kind of limited on what I can say here, but you know exactly where this is going. So instead of the guy getting in trouble and being sent back to the men's prison, obviously you're here for the wrong reasons. You don't feel like a woman. You feel like a dude, apparently, if you're becoming a dad. They just moved her to another facility, gave him a new roommate. The roommate reports that she's been repeatedly raped. So they don't know if she's telling the truth or lying or just trying to cause trouble because she's a mean little homophobe. So they move her out, move in a 3rd cellmate. I'm going to give you one guess what happened. Got raped. Weren't we just talking about this 2 segments ago? How many women have to be sexually assaulted? Feminists out there, people who claim you're on the side of females and feminists and, you're against the evil male patriarchy and toxic masculinity. If masculinity is so toxic, stop putting it in the cells of the women's prison so they can get raped. So the question gets a little longer and stronger and more concerning because we had multiple, a dozen female students complain at this high school 2 segments ago about the trans kid that's let in there, and he keeps sexually assaulting them, keeps sexually assaulting himself in front of them as well. And then we have over here in the California prisons this experiment going exactly like you predicted. Remember the scientific method? Let's come up with a hypothesis. Let's observe the world around us. Let's try and observe some conclusions or some patterns. And then we'll make a hypothesis. And then we'll test that hypothesis in the real world and see if the evidence supports the hypothesis. If it does, then we'll continue testing it. And maybe one day it'll get upgraded to a theory. If not, we'll crumple up the piece of paper, throw it in the trash, go back to the drawing board. So when this was passed, there were people on one side of it, the people in favor of this policy, say, no, this is a good policy. Don't you have any empathy for the trans women and their need to feel comfortable in prison? And you were saying, no, not really. No, because what's going to happen is you're going to put them over there. Guys are going to lie, or even if they're telling the truth. But some guys will lie just to get into women's prison. And there's going to be a rape fest. There's going to be pregnancies. There's going to be sexual assaults. You know, before you started letting men in the women's prison, 0 prisoners were impregnating other prisoners in the women's prison. I mean, biologically speaking, this is a problem that can only happen under this policy. And so now we have 5 years of evidence. This is the testing phase of the scientific process, the scientific method. And their hypothesis got blown out of the water. No, this doesn't increase safety. This doesn't make things better. And your hypothesis on what you thought, on what you observed, what you predicted came true. Guys starts claiming to be a woman, just go to the women's prison, pretty much for the sole purpose of taking advantage of the situation, carnally speaking. Congratulations. You were right again. Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back, because it's one of the dumbest, easiest predictions that you could possibly make. And the real question is, you're not a genius. How are these other people so dumb? How did this law ever get passed? Who is dumb enough to write this law and then bring it to a committee? And then the committee's like, oh, that seems like a good idea. And then it goes to the legislature as a whole, and a majority of them say, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. Like, how far decrepit down the cultural downward spiral do you have to be this dumb, to make policy this bad? The party of empathy. Okay, so you have empathy for the guy who's pretending to be trans. Where's the empathy for the rape victims? Because they're just lining up over here. And the question becomes again, how many women have to be raped or sexually assaulted before we admit these are bad policies and we reject them as society as a whole? Now, I know you reject them. I know you recognize it as bad policies. But there's enough people out there that this is still the law in the most populous state in America. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I do not have an answer for that. But coming up next, we'll talk to my legal buddy, Jeremy Rosenthal. Oregon says they're a sanctuary state. They're going to help illegal immigrants dodge ICE. Well, what's going to happen to them? We'll ask next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. My next guest, who we lean on quite often on the James Show to help us with some of these legal issues. Why? Because it's easier than me going out and getting a law degree. Jeremy Rosenthal from TexasDefenseFirm.com. Welcome back to the James Show.
How are you, James?
I am well, sir. Thanks for coming on again, and I appreciate your time, especially during the holidays. I know this is like premium time you're giving me. It's a couple of questions. Number one, Oregon, sanctuary state, they've actually said out loud that they are going to help illegal immigrants get around ICE. They even have online toolkits to prepare illegal immigrants for ICE raids. This cannot be legal. I mean, I haven't been to law school, so maybe you need to explain to me, how can one government agency come up with toolkits for criminals to avoid charges from other government agencies? Make it make sense, Jeremy.
It doesn't, but I'll tell you this, James. I think it's legal. Basically, as a sanctuary state, what they're saying is kind of the opposite of Texas. You know, Texas, we passed legislation here that said we're going to help the feds enforce immigration, and then we get court challenges there. And in Oregon, it's just the polar opposite. And what they're saying is we are actively and aggressively going to sit on our hands and not going to do a darn thing to help federal officials enforce immigration. You know, we're going to inform people of their rights online. And you know, it's information that they're giving out, and they're not encouraging any disobedience. They're just saying, here are your rights. So they're walking up to the line.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're walking up to the line. And look, the Attorney General in the state of Oregon doesn't care what we think here in McKinney. You know, she's playing to her base up there, and this is good headlines for her, I'm sure. So that's the state of the state. But yeah, I mean, it does. Look, if somebody's here and undocumented, you know, I know where I might go.
Yeah, Oregon, right?
I mean, that's. I think that's the issue, right? And I mean, look, and that's why they have declared themselves. And this was like in the 1980s. They declared themselves a sanctuary state, which again just means they're aggressively not helping the federal government enforce these rules. And they crossed the line if and when they encourage any type of disobedience with federal law, which, I'm guessing they're smart enough not to go that far, but it's a guess.
Well, that's kind of my next question. The new border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he's going to be arresting people in sanctuary cities who are not complying with the law. I mean, do these guys risk arrest?
Again, if they're going too far. So let me give you a good example. Like one of the best pieces of advice from lawyers who are older than me, because I'm very young, as you know.
Super young, yeah.
Looking as on my website, yeah. Other lawyers have always told me, kind of growing up as a lawyer, don't make a client's problem your problem, right? So I give clients legal advice, right? I cannot tell a client, for instance, if a client's got a warrant, I have to tell them to turn themselves in. Period. End of story. That's not my job to go get them. And it's sure, and I commit a crime if I tell them how to evade a warrant. If I say, listen, this is how you do this. Or if somebody were to come to me undocumented, same difference. And I would say, well, here's how you evade legal process. That's where, as a lawyer, I cross the line. And that's where I make it my problem. Same difference for officials in Oregon or any other sanctuary state. If and when they begin to assist people in crossing the line, if you will, that's when that's when they make the person's problem their own problem. But to tell them, well, you've got the right for X, Y, and Z, doesn't cross the line.
Well, the example that Tom Homan brought up, he was asked specifically about the mayor of Denver, who said they're not going to comply and let ICE know when they have illegals in custody. Does he have a leg to stand on there to arrest the mayor?
Okay, assuming that it is a federal provision that the state must do some notification and then they disregard that, then he's breaking some kind of a rule. Whether that's a criminal law or not, I don't know. It's not a good thing. I mean, again, I mean, politicians are going to politic, and you drive in Northern California through wine country, and you hear commercials on the radio of how they're going to be easy on crime, and you just know that, man, I'm not in Texas anymore. I don't think I've heard quite that, but very similar, So different people are going to play to different bases. But again, the difference is if you say, okay, here's how you evade capture unlawfully, right? Once there's resources giving out there, then it goes too far. And yes, you're right. It's a crazy dynamic to think that one governmental entity is giving out information on how to kind of thwart another governmental agency, right? Even if it is sort of legal and lawful, you're still sort of like, okay, I mean, one of these kids is doing his own thing. I mean, it's one of those.
So why Oregon's such a weird legal animal? I don't know if it gets a lot of attention in the lawyer circles, but when you read through history books, you find out that Oregon was the only U.S. state that was founded as a white ethno state, and they do weird legal things like this on a regular basis. What is their deal over there?
They also are into weird substances that are not legal here. That much I can tell you. Man, I don't know. I've never been to Oregon. But yeah, I'm like you, man. And they're good at football. At the moment, they're good at football. I know that. Other than that, couldn't tell you, man.
So weird. For those of you guys who don't know the background of Oregon, when it became a state, they tried to pass laws that simultaneously outlawed slavery. If you moved to Oregon with your slaves, you would have to free them in 3 years, and then they would have to leave, or they would just get beaten or thrown in jail or whatever. African Americans were forbidden from even entering the territory. So it was I don't know what the deal is with that state, and that always comes up when I see the Antifa riots and them burning down their own buildings in their downtown and all the weird hair colors and whatnot. Mm-hmm. That's just a weird place. But I hope the hammer comes down on them. Maybe there's something that can be done about this that just hasn't been done before. I just don't know what that is, Jeremy.
Well, you could pass, if you had the votes, you could pass some federal legislation that requires states to do X, Y, and Z, and that could be the supremacy clause, or the federal government promises money, which is, hey, it works for building roads and bridges. You promise states money for certain types of cooperation. Problem that you have is that immigration is now and has always been and will always be super white hot. As a lawyer, I've been told by immigration lawyers that we just never buy new manuals. We never buy new treatises because by the time that they shipped here, they're out of date. So it is just a super, the sands are always shifting with these things, and it's really hard to get any type of a consensus. So I don't know that you could push to have any more aggressive legislation. Everything that you see these days when it comes to immigration are all executive orders because Congress can't or won't do anything about it. They never get the consensus. So or they never get such a degree of votes to really take any kind of meaningful action. So you're sort of stuck in this maze.
All right, Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com. Thanks for coming on the James Show.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate it. What is with Oregon? Go read up on the history of Oregon. Because while they're doing all this weird anti-black white ethno-state stuff, they're sending financial aid to the Union during the Civil War. They're outlawing slavery in their own place. It's what, are you racist or not? Or it's just a weird, almost benevolent form of racism. That's just what's up with Oregon. I have no answer for that. Coming up next, you're going to hear a very heartwarming story about a janitor whose car got stolen, and the students and faculty of his elementary school came and raised a bunch of money with the parents, bought him a new one. Details coming up. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to be giving away Keith Urban tickets. I don't get to approve of all the artists. There's a lot of people out there who like Keith Urban. I'm just not one of them. But hey, look, if you like him, you can still get them from me. We're going to play Name That Artist. He's going to be at Dickies Arena coming up, in October? So you got a couple months here to clear your schedule and to get your calendar arranged. But we're going to play Name That Artist. I'm going to play a montage of 10 artists. And these are all like 70 songs, aren't they? For those of you who want to see, how much of this is 80s? One of them? I think that Billy Joel song is 80s, but I'm not sure. See, I already gave you one of the artists, but that's how easy it is. We'll play the montage now, and then coming up in the next segment, we'll play it again. The reason we're playing it now is I want you to figure out if you're like, oh yeah, I know all 10 of those guys. Well, then when we play it in the next segment, you're going to have your phone out or you're going to have a piece of paper and a writing utensil of some sort, and you're going to write down all 10 of them. So when you call in and I go to you on the phone, you'll just be able to list them out really quick and not try and recall it from memory or make me play the montage again and you guess it while they're playing. So here's the montage. If you know all 10 of these artists, not the song name, the artist, and you want to go see Keith Urban for free or give away your tickets to Keith Urban for free to someone who likes him, he's going to be at Dickies in October. This is your montage. Go. Man, it sounds like he's saying, hold me closer, Tony Danza, doesn't it? I can't stop hearing that. Someone said that one time, and now that's all I hear. Just like Concrete Jungle, Wet Dream Tomato for New York State of Mind or whatever that is. All right, so that's going to be a Name That Artist next segment. Ooh, do you like the sound of that? Do you want Keith Urban tickets? You know all those artists? Call right now, 800-288-9227. We'll go ahead and get you lined up. We'll take a commercial break. We'll come back. We'll play the game. But go ahead and call in right now, 800-288-9227. Then Garrett will put you on hold. You can just put it on speakerphone until we play the game and go on with your life here. But next, I wanted to play you this. I have time, right? Kind of running out. Okay. Oh, yeah. We have fewer commercials today. I wanted to play you this viral video. A lady who has no other introduction other than she's a boomer. She's explaining how healthcare worked in the 60s and 70s to these young bucks. Because look, you have Gen Zs and millennials who have never even seen the world without ubiquitous healthcare. And so it's scary for them, the idea of pulling it back or withdrawing it or repealing Obamacare and scaling some of that back and, God forbid, not having healthcare. But really, wasn't life better before we had ubiquitous health insurance? The boomer explains.
Some people asked, well, how did baby boomers afford to have children back in the 1960s and early 70s if there was no health insurance? And other than employer health insurance, there was no health insurance. So when I had my first child in 1969, it cost a total of $300. That was everything. And then a couple of years later, I had my daughter, and it was a little bit higher. It was $1,000 for everything, visits in hospital, everything. But there was no health insurance. You just paid cash. So the doctors couldn't charge very much because there were no health insurance companies to pay for it. So if you require health insurance, or you put it in a legally required format, then all of a sudden the prices just shoot up. Ask yourself why. When you put an insurance company in the middle, why does the price that you have to pay go up?
Yeah, I like how she does that by asking questions because it makes people think. Yeah, what would happen if we didn't have health insurance? Well, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Well, what if everyone that went to the doctor couldn't afford it? What would the doctor have to do? Lower their prices. How do we know that? Because when everybody didn't have health insurance, they had to lower their prices. We already saw how it worked. We tried to improve it. It didn't work. So let's repeal what we got and we'll go back to the free market principles that we're doing better. That's the insidious part about all these government programs. Once they're instituted, especially for a generation, it's really hard to imagine the world without them. It's like the same argument we have with Social Security. Well, what would happen if Social Security would go away? All these people would just be poor and what? They'd be homeless and destitute and dying in the streets? Well, was that what was going on before Social Security? No. So why do you think that afterwards? Great conversation to have. Thank you, Viral Boomer, whoever you may be. Coming up next, we're going to play Name That Artist for tickets to see Keith Urban on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Wait a second. What year is this? Because they're saying on TV that the bald eagle officially becomes the national bird of the United States. Holy crap, that's breaking news? I thought that was always the case. When was it ever not the national bird of the United States? Have we just been living a lie this whole time? Has it really been like a robin or something? That's weird. It's just slow news, I guess, for the poor folks on cable news. All right, we got to do some name that artist action here. Well, one line just opened up. If you want to try and win some tickets to see Keith Urban, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. All right, all you guys, this sausage party online, y'all get out, the guys on hold, get out a piece of paper or maybe a notepad window on your phone and get ready to type in the artist. Because when I go to you, if you could just list them off 1 through 10 real quick, that'll make this all real easy for everybody. And it'll also sound better for radio purposes. All right. So for Keith Urban tickets, here is your montage for Name That Artist. All right, so there is your montage. Let's see if we can come up with a winner on Name That Artist. Who's there the first? Paul? Paul in Carrollton. You ready for Name That Artist, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's hear your list. Ready, go.
Okay. It was fairly easy, I believe.
Okay.
Right? 1, Ringo. 2, Chicago. Number 3, Hollies.
Uh-oh. Hang on.
No?
No, not Hollies. Not Hollies, but don't go anywhere. I liked your attitude. I have a feeling we may circle back because this is one of the harder lists I've ever seen. I only got like 4 on this one. Kevin.
Yes.
Weatherford, you ready?
I think so.
Let me hear your list. Go.
All right, Ringo.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yep.
Harry Nilsson.
Nilsson, yes.
Rod Stewart. David Jones. The Bee Gees. Paul McCartney. Heatwave. Billy Joel. Elton John.
What a steal. What a steal. Well, Kevin, you just ruined Paul and Carrollton's Christmas. So I hope you enjoy those.
Just made my wife's.
Good, good. That's what I'm hoping for. I hope we made your Christmas. Kevin,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna put you back on hold. Garrett will get your information. We'll email you the tickets because that's what we do these days. You don't have to come to the station and pick them up anymore. Paul, hang on. Paul, you still there?
Yes.
Sorry about the steal, man. I appreciate you hanging on. I wish I had a party gift for you, but we're just too low budget of a show.
No, that was all right. Your show's great. He deserved it more than I did, for sure.
Well, did you
So
get the
he's
rest
spot
of them right except for Nielsen?
No, wait. There was one more, I think. Yeah, I was calling. Okay, let's compare notes. Yeah, I got the Beatles for the one right after the Bee Gees. I got Beatles.
Yeah,
he
and
got
that was Paul McCartney's solo. Right. That was one of the ones I missed.
Yeah.
I said Beatles when Bruce was playing that for me before the show. All right.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was a Beatles song. So.
Well, I like your attitude, Paul. I'm glad you're listening to the show. Maybe I can give you something one day. Thank you, sir.
I like yours, James. You're the best, man.
Oh, look at people being nice. Is it because it's the holidays? Do I have time to do this janitor story real quick? You mind if I just cram this in here? Because I promised it earlier, and I want to do some heartwarming stuff because I've done a lot of heartbreaking stories on today's show. Just some brutal stuff. Well, at WFAA, we'll tell you the whole story, but man, we could do stories like this all day, every day. If we didn't have any crime in this city, we could fill up the news with stuff like this. It just doesn't sell as well. Oh, here.
School assembly at Amy Parks Elementary in Heath was not a surprise.
Some of you know.
But why the entire school was even gathered here was shocking.
We found out that Mr. Lucino had run into a little bit of trouble.
Okay. Thank you.
School custodian Lucino Perez has worked here 4 years, and in that time has built a remarkable bond with these students.
He brings like a lot of kindness and makes everybody happy. He's nice and he does his job very good. He's one of the best cleaners that I've ever seen.
Students say Mr. Lucino has never missed so much as a crumb, which is why he was caught off guard when the principal called him to a meeting and came clean.
Le dije a mi familia, llegué a la casa y dije a mi
I went home and told my family. They were shocked and couldn't believe it. Word had gotten around that Mr. Lucino's car had been stolen and totaled. He was relying on family for a ride to work, which just wasn't sustainable. He needed a car, but no way could he afford one. When students and parents found out what had happened, they started a fundraising campaign. The principal called that meeting to tell Mr. Lucino how much they'd raised. $21,000, enough to buy him a car.
How much do we love Mr. Lucino?
They gave him the keys during last week's assembly.
New car!
So overwhelmed, he was driven to tears. I'm very happy here and feel like family.
It meant so much to me. All the teachers were crying and everyone was.
Sounds like a champ.
Yeah, so thank you, WFAA, for that report.
Thank you.
So this happened in Heath. This happened in, not suburb, I guess really exurb. Would you call it rural? I mean, it's between Rockwall and Miso Forney. But it's Trump country, and I like pointing this out because we've been told that those evil Trump supporters are xenophobic and racist and hate people that look different than them and hate immigrants and hate illegal immigrants. And here we have a guy that's probably an illegal immigrant. The dude doesn't speak Spanish, and that's okay. Did anybody ask of his status before they donated money to this? This wasn't there's not a bunch of millionaires and billionaires who live in Heath. It's regular people who, when they give, it hurts. Did they ask? Did they care about the color of his skin? Did they care about the fact that he couldn't speak English? Did they care about all these other things that you're told the people out in red state America, the red counties, the MAGA country, were a bunch of hate-filled white nationalist bigots who hate people of color, who hate immigrants, who hate illegals. And xenophobia means you just hate people who aren't like you. And this guy's clearly not like everyone else in the community, but that didn't make him any less human, didn't make him not their friend, didn't make him not their colleague, not their co-equal human being in the eyes of God. Never get credit for that, though, will they? Anybody bring up the race there in that one? Oh, no, only when it makes you look bad. It's a beautiful story. I'm glad I got to share it with you. If you got any comments, 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. That was Garrett singing, by the way. That wasn't me doing a very bad El King. All right, let me give you some scuttlebutt. This is going to be silly, but stick with me here because I think you're going to roll your eyes really hard and wreck your car if you're not careful. There's a nightclub in uptown Dallas. It's called Theory. And they have bottle service. You know what bottle service is? It's the dumbest thing. Club culture is so hilarious. Where if you get bottle service, then they pull this VIP rope, and there's a section of the club that you and your selected friends can go to, and only you can go to without being bothered by the plebeian masses out there, the unwashed hordes. And not only do you get a drink, you get an entire bottle of alcohol. So you see people do that. When bottle service, what do you get? Like the VIP section and a Grey Goose. And they charge ridiculous for this. It's like $500 or something stupid. So what it is a good way for people to go signal, like wealth signal. It's like virtue signal. But what's the term for that? When you're conspicuous consumption or whatever. And it makes sense. You know, like if you want to pick up ladies at a club, show them that you have crazy money to go buy bottle service, and they will flock. The wrong kinds of girls will flock to you, but that's probably what you're looking for. One of the other perks at Theory, though, is they have one of those electronic signs over the dance floor. There's like a really thin strip where they can put like a scrolling message on it. Or in this one, it didn't scroll, it just flashed up. And if you get bottle service, then for, a few minutes, instead of, tip your bartender or welcome to Theory or Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever else they're flashing up there, you get to control what's on the marquee for a while, for a few minutes. And so you just tell the guy after you get bottle service, they'll send Carlos over, tell him what you want. He'll type it in. It'll be up there and you can all high five and woo, and probably take a selfie with it in the background. It's kind of a brilliant marketing scheme, except they got in trouble last weekend, like 6 days ago, because a clip went on TikTok when the sign put up the message, white B words only. And it didn't say B word, it said the female dog. So white bees only. So you see the clip, and I watched it on TikTok, and it flashed up there, white bees only, and there's like a splash of some sort of animation behind it, and then it kind of goes away, and then it'll come back, and then it'll go away, and just did that for a few minutes. But there was a video on TikTok where it showed it, and then it turned around to the person who was holding the phone, and it was a black girl, and she didn't think it was funny. And so, a few people left, but of course the video went viral on Twitter, over 3 million views by the time the Dallas Morning News wrote up a story on it. So now it's in the paper. And look, here's a couple of thoughts. It's wrong. They shouldn't have done it. The club has condemned it. The club says, of course, we're not okay with that. We have a zero tolerance policy for any discrimination. We just had a new employee, the guy who's in charge of typing it in. Like he's new and he didn't know all of our policies as thoroughly as he should have. We've rectified that and given him the proper training. We disavowed the message. We disavowed the people who did it. And they've just been groveling over and over and over about it. And rightfully so. It's a terrible message. It's not good for business. It's, having 3 million people connect you to a white racist message is not good for business. So even as a capitalist pig, you would just want to shoot that down whether you agreed with it or not. Now, of course, that's a silly way to run your business. So I really doubt that they were okay with this. I believe the company when they say all that. I don't think they're just backtracking and lying after the fact. But just notice, just saying something racist that fits the narrative makes the news. How many stories have I told you about in the last week or weeks after that or weeks before that where there's anti-white racism doesn't make the news? Put up black bees only. Do that this weekend. Someone get bottle service, put up black bees only, take a video of it, see if it goes viral, see if it's in Dallas Morning News, and then report back to me. Show me the video. Somebody please do that. Go to Theory. Do it. Make it happen. I would do it, but I don't have the money for bottle service. But James, you're a big radio host on WBAP. Yeah, I got 4 kids. Give me a break. Someone do that social experiment for me, please. Please, I would love that so much. That'd be so hilarious because you know how it would turn out. I'd be able to just rub it in their face on this show. Help a brother out. Go to Theory. Get bottle service. on the sign. See if they'll do it even. They'd be crazy if they did, but I would love them for it. And look, then they'd be off the hook. All right, that's my little social experiment. Have a good weekend. Come back. We'll do this again on Monday. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.